My wife took our daughter's college savings and bought her boss a car. I was broken until my daughter whispered, "She thinks I'm stupid," but I recorded everything. 2 days later, my wife was crying in the driveway begging me to make her stop. I always thought I had a decent handle on life. Nothing fancy, just solid. You know? I'm Neil, 47, and I've lived in Rochester, New York, my whole damn life. Got a job at a manufacturing plant on the west side. Been there since I was 20. Married my high school sweetheart, Candace, when I was 25. We had one kid, Mira, and I honestly thought we were doing all right. Our house isn't big. 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. The kind of place that still has the original linoleum floors in the kitchen and creaks in the hallway when you walk too fast. But it was ours. Paid off, too. Took a long time, but we did it. Or I thought we did it. That's the thing. You can go 20 years thinking you know someone. Eating dinner with them. Watching reruns on the couch with them. Raising a kid with them. And then one day, you find out they were playing a whole different game behind your back. It was a Tuesday when everything started to feel off. I was in the garage fighting with the lawnmower. It kept choking every time I pulled the cord, and I was cursing it in ways I'm not proud of. Candace was inside, typing away on her laptop. Said she was working from home that day. Her accounting firm let her do that once a week now. Mira got home from school around 3:30, as usual. She waved at me through the garage window and went straight to her room. "Hey, kiddo," I called out, but she didn't answer. Typical teenager stuff, I figured. Probably headphones in. Candace came out about an hour later, holding her phone like she'd just gotten a text that made her day. "You get out here?" she asked, not even looking at me. "Yeah, just trying to keep this piece of crap alive one more summer," I said, wiping grease off my hands with a rag. She laughed, but it felt hollow. I noticed her new nails then, bright red, long, expensive looking. And I couldn't remember the last time we'd had money for luxuries like that. "Did you go get those done today?" I asked. "Huh? Oh yeah. Lunchtime appointment. Been stressed," she said, shrugging like it was nothing. That's when the feeling started. The one in your gut. Like something's sitting wrong, but you don't know what. The next day, I got mail from the state's college savings program. Myra's 529 plan. Usually I just toss those letters in a drawer, but this time something told me to open it. I read it twice. Then a third time. It said a disbursement had been made 2 weeks ago. $58,700. I damn near dropped the letter. I sat on the edge of the bed, the paper shaking in my hand. I read the details again. Funds used for a non-qualified expense. Something about a vehicle purchase. No way. I called the number on the letter. Waited through 10 minutes of elevator music before a woman picked up. "Yes, Mr. Hartley. The disbursement was requested and signed by the co-account holder, Candace Hartley. We verified the ID on file." I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Was it for a car?" I asked, voice tight. "Correct. A luxury vehicle purchase. Audi Q7, I believe." My blood went cold. I didn't confront her right away. I don't know why. Maybe shock. Maybe I needed to believe there was a good reason. I'm not an idiot. I just didn't want to believe what I was seeing. That night, Mira came into the garage while I was sitting there staring at the mower again, pretending to care. "Dad?" she said quietly. "Yeah, sweetheart." She hesitated. I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to freak out." I turned to her, and for the first time, I noticed how serious her face was. No teenage eye rolls. No sighing. Just focused, almost scared. "What's going on?" "She thinks I'm stupid," Mira said. "But I recorded everything." My heart stopped. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "She's been on the phone. With him. A lot. She thought I had my headphones in. But I was listening. And I recorded one of their conversations. Do you want to hear it?" I didn't want to hear it. But I nodded. She played the recording. Candace's voice came through, clear as day. "He'll never find out. The money was just sitting there. Besides, it's not like she's going to college anytime soon. Not with those grades." Then a man's voice. Sleazy. Arrogant. "You sure? That car wasn't cheap. She's 16. She'll get over it. Neil? He's too simple to figure it out." I closed my eyes. My hands were shaking. "Who is he?" I asked, almost whispering. "Her boss," Mira said. "Conrad de Years. They've been seeing each other for months." I looked him up. He's married too. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Candace, pretending everything was normal, while she scrolled through her phone like nothing was wrong. I felt like I was lying beside a stranger. The next morning, I called in sick. Said I had a stomach bug, which wasn't even a lie. I sat in the car for over an hour, just staring at the steering wheel. Then I drove to a lawyer. I laid it all out. The savings account, the car, the affair, the recording. He didn't say much, just nodded and took notes. "We can file for divorce now," he said, "or we can gather more. But if what you're telling me is true, she committed fraud by misusing those college funds." I didn't want revenge. Not really. I wanted my daughter's money back. I wanted her dignity back. I wanted answers. And I wanted the lies to stop. I started preparing quietly. Changed all my passwords. Set up a new bank account in my name only. Talked to Myra's school counselor about what she might need to apply for scholarships, just in case. The final straw came when I got home that Friday and found a pair of cufflinks on the kitchen table. Gold. Expensive looking. Definitely not mine. I stared at them for a long time. Then I walked into the living room and asked, "Who the hell's cufflinks are these?" Candace didn't even blink. "Oh, those. Conrad left them when he came by to talk about a project." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. At our house. I asked, "You brought him here?" She just gave me a look. "Don't be dramatic." I didn't say anything else. I walked out, drove to a motel. Mira met me there an hour later. She brought her backpack, her laptop, and every recording she'd made. We listened to all of them, one after another. Some were short, others. Jesus. I heard Candace talk about me like I was some dumb dog she'd been forced to keep. Heard her tell Conrad she wished she'd met him before she settled for me. Mira looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't know how to tell you." "You did good," I told her. "You did real good." We stayed at that motel for 3 nights. I took Monday off and met with the lawyer again. Gave him the recordings. He raised his eyebrows when he heard the part about the college fund. "This might get ugly," he warned. "It already is," I said. I never realized how much silence could feel like noise until I sat across from Mira at that motel breakfast bar the morning after we left the house. She was stirring some sad-looking oatmeal she hadn't touched, while I sipped on motel coffee that tasted like burnt cardboard. Neither of us said much. The air felt heavy. Too heavy for a Sunday. "You sure you're okay, kiddo?" I finally asked. She gave a small shrug. "I just don't get why she did it. I mean, if she didn't want to be with you anymore, why not just say it?" I didn't have an answer. I don't think I ever will. People like Candace, they don't think like the rest of us. It's not about honesty. It's about getting what they want and convincing themselves they deserve it. That afternoon, I went back to the house when I knew Candace would be out. Mira stayed at the motel. I wanted to grab some papers, my laptop, and the files for the college fund, whatever was left of it. I also wanted to change the locks. Call it petty. Call it preparation. But I needed control over something. Anything. I was halfway through switching out the deadbolt when her car pulled into the driveway. White Audi Q7. Brand new. Shiny. Flashy. The kind of car you drive when you're trying to prove something. She got out, slammed the door, and looked at me like I was the one doing something wrong. "What the hell are you doing?" she asked, striding up the walkway in heels too high for anyone running errands. "Changing the locks," I said, without looking up. "Are you serious right now? You spent nearly 60 grand from our daughter's college fund," I said calmly. "I'm very serious." She blinked. For a second, I thought she was going to deny it. But instead, she crossed her arms and said, "You're overreacting." I looked at her like she'd grown 2 heads. "Overreacting? Are you kidding me, Candace? You drained a savings account we spent 16 years building for him." Her jaw clenched. "It wasn't like that." "Oh no." I stood up. "Because Mira recorded your phone call. The one where you said I was too simple to figure it out. That knocked the wind out of her." She what?" "She recorded everything. You were sloppy, Candace. And she's not stupid. You just treated her like she was." She stared at me for a long time. Her face twisted between a dozen emotions: rage, panic, guilt, and something else. "Fear. You don't understand the pressure I've been under," she started. "Conrad, I don't give a damn about Conrad," I snapped. "I care about our daughter. And you betrayed her. You betrayed both of us." Her voice cracked then, soft. "Neil, I didn't mean to hurt Mira. You chose to hurt her. Over and over again. And now? Now you're going to pay for it." I walked past her. She didn't follow. That night, Candace sent about 30 texts. I didn't read most of them. The ones I did, half apologies, half excuses. Said she was manipulated. Said she was confused. Said things just happened. I replied once. "The only thing that happened was you made a choice." Multiple times. I told her we were staying at the motel. That we'd talk through lawyers from now on. And that she'd better prepare for a formal restitution demand. I sent the last part with a link to a Google Drive folder. Inside, every single recording Mira had made. Screenshots. Bank documents. The disbursement letter. Her signature. Her voice. I never got a reply. On Monday morning, I dropped Mira off at school. As she got out of the car, she hesitated. "Dad, yeah. Do I have to see her?" "Not if you don't want to," I said. She nodded, eyes glassy. "Okay. Just let me know what happens, I guess." I watched her walk toward the entrance with her hoodie pulled up. She looked older than 16 all of a sudden. Later that day, I met with the HR manager at Candace's company. I'd emailed them in advance with the recordings. Scheduled the meeting under the advice of my lawyer. The guy looked pale when I walked in. "Mr. Hartley, thank you for coming." I sat down and nodded. "You listened to the files?" He adjusted his glasses. "Yes, and I don't even know where to start. This is a serious breach of ethics. Potentially illegal. She used company time, company resources, her laptop and work phone are both company issued. And then there's the financial angle. You're going to fire her?" I asked. "We're placing her on immediate unpaid leave, pending a full investigation," he said. and we'll be reporting the financial information to our legal team. There could be charges, especially if your lawyer pursues fraud. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just nodded and stood up. Thank you, I said and left. That evening, Candace showed up again. This time, not in her Audi. In fact, not in any car. She was on foot, eyes red, face streaked with tears. She looked like a mess, hair pulled back in a frizzy ponytail, no makeup, and slippers on her feet. I watched her from the motel window as she stood in the parking lot, scanning the cars until she found mine. Then she just sat on the curb, crying. My phone buzzed. Candace, please tell her to stop. I can't take it anymore. I didn't answer. Mira was in the shower. I didn't want to upset her again, but I stepped outside and walked over. She looked up at me, mascara smudged, even though she wasn't wearing any anymore. Please, she whispered. Make her stop. She sent the recordings to everyone. HR, my sister, my mom, even some of the parents from Myra's school. I didn't tell her to do that. I said honestly. She did it on her own. She's punishing me. You deserve to be punished, I said. I lost everything, Neil. No, I corrected her. We did. Mira lost her trust in you. I lost my wife. Our family lost its future. You didn't lose it. You threw it away. She buried her face in her hands. I made a mistake. I shook my head. This wasn't a mistake, Candace. A mistake is forgetting to pick up the milk. This was betrayal. She sobbed harder. And I left her there. Things weren't over. Not by a long shot. We still had court to face. The financial mess to untangle. Custody arrangements to figure out. Though Mira was old enough to have a say in that. But something shifted that night. Candace wasn't in control anymore. She was crumbling. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't the one begging. I wasn't the one blindsided or confused. I was calm, clear, and ready to see it through. Candace didn't come back to the motel again after that night. I think she realized she couldn't win face-to-face anymore. She tried through text for a while, one message after another, long walls of guilt and apologies and promises to make it right. But there was no making this right. Mira read one of them by accident. It popped up on the screen when she was playing music in the car. She stared at it for a while before locking the phone and handing it back to me. She still doesn't get it, she said quietly. No, she doesn't. I knew what she meant. Candace's messages were all about her pain, her confusion, her reputation. Not once did she ask how Mira was doing. Not once did she say, I'm sorry, and leave it at that. That's what stung the most for Mira. We stayed at the motel for a full week. It wasn't glamorous, but it was safe. And quiet. I needed quiet. Every night, I'd lay on one of those stiff, squeaky beds and just stare at the ceiling, trying to imagine what our life used to feel like. It felt like someone had stolen my memories and left fakes in their place. By Friday, my lawyer had filed for divorce. We served Candace the papers at her office. Or, more accurately, what used to be her office. I heard through a friend who knew someone at the firm that she'd been escorted out the day after I met with HR, security badge deactivated, personal belongings boxed up, her job, her fancy title, all gone. Conrad Deers. He went underground fast. Word was, his wife kicked him out too. There were whispers of lawsuits from other employees. Turns out Candace wasn't the first woman he'd tangled with inappropriately, just the most expensive. Saturday morning, Mira and I went back to the house. It felt like walking into a museum. Everything was still there. The couch where we used to watch movies, the dented coffee table, the fridge covered in her old art projects. But it all felt hollow. Mira stood in the living room for a long time, arms crossed, just looking around. She moved stuff, she said eventually. I frowned. What do you mean? She walked over to the shelf under the TV. My school photos used to be here. And Grandma's clock. Now it's just candles and some weird art thing. I looked at the shelf and saw she was right. It wasn't just a different layout. It was a different tone. Like Candace had started scrubbing away traces of the family she didn't want anymore. Mira picked up one of the candles and sniffed it. Smells like something she never used to buy? Expensive. Spa stuff. She put it down gently. I don't feel like this is our house anymore, she said. And I didn't have the heart to argue. That night, after we settled back in as much as anyone could settle in, I heard Mira crying through the wall. I gave it a few minutes before I knocked on her door. Can I come in? She sniffled. Yeah. She was curled up in bed, hoodie pulled up over her head, a pillow hugged to her chest. I just keep thinking about the stuff she said, she whispered. Like, how she said I wasn't smart. That she didn't think I'd go to college. That it didn't matter. I sat on the edge of her bed and sighed. She didn't mean that. Mira looked up at me, eyes red. She meant it. I heard her. That wasn't an accident. That was her being honest with someone she thought I'd never hear. I didn't have an answer. I just nodded. Because she was right. And sometimes the truth hurts more than the lie ever could. The next few days blurred into one long series of meetings. Lawyers, financial advisors, a mediator. I had to take unpaid leave from work just to handle it all. We went through every expense, every account, every legal angle we could use to recover Myra's college money. It wasn't just gone. It had been transferred, through a fake invoice submitted by a dummy company tied to Conrad. Candace had signed off on it under the table. We were pushing to have the vehicle repossessed, but the firm was dragging its heels, trying to minimize exposure. In the middle of all this, Mira got called into the school counselor's office. They'd gotten wind of what was going on, probably from one of the other parents Candace had tried to manipulate. When she came home that day, she dropped her backpack by the door and said, "They offered me therapy." I paused. "Do you want it?" She thought about it. "Maybe, but not with someone from school. It feels too public." "We'll find someone else," I said. "Someone who doesn't know her. Someone who won't try to play both sides." She gave me a tired smile. "You're handling this better than most adults would," I told her. "I feel like I had to grow up 10 years in 2 weeks," she said. And she wasn't wrong. Candace's sister, Piper, reached out around that time. She left me a voicemail, sounding half angry, half guilty. "Neil, I don't know what to say. I had no idea. I thought you were the one being distant. Candace made it sound like you were pulling away, not her. And now with all this coming out, it's a mess. She's a mess. She's staying here, but it's not going well." I deleted the message. I didn't care what kind of mess Candace was in. A few nights later, Mira showed me something. She'd made a spreadsheet. Not for homework, for scholarships. "I'm going to apply to every single one I can find," she said. "I don't care if it's $500 or $5,000. I'll stack him up. I'm not letting her ruin my future." I stared at her, stunned. "You don't have to carry this all by yourself." "I know," she said, "but it feels better doing something than just sitting here." She had color-coded the list. Notes on deadlines. Required essays. Application fees. I felt a lump form in my throat. "You're incredible," I said. She smirked. I had a decent role model. The war with Candace wasn't over. There was still property division. Still depositions and court dates and fights over who owned what, and who deserved what, and how to split the wreckage of 2 decades. But something shifted in me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was fighting for my daughter, for her future, for the life we deserved without lies and manipulation dragging us down. And I wasn't afraid of Candace anymore. Not her tears. Not her fake apologies. Not even her lawyers. Because I had truth on my side. And sometimes, that's enough. The first court date was set for a Thursday morning in early March. Snow still dusted the ground in Rochester, thin and crusty along the edges of the sidewalks. It had that gray, ugly look snow gets when it overstays its welcome. I ironed a dress shirt the night before. Blue. Clean, but nothing fancy. I didn't have a courtroom wardrobe. Mira helped me pick the tie. Something that didn't scream, "I've never done this before," even though I clearly had. She didn't come to court. I asked if she wanted to. Told her I'd support her either way. She shook her head. "I think I'll throw up if I see her," she said. Fair enough. I walked into the courthouse alone, papers in my hand, heart pounding harder than I thought it would. Candace was already there, sitting with her lawyer at the front of the waiting room, scrolling through her phone like it was just another day. She wore all black. Not morning black. Statement black. Expensive jacket, long earrings, makeup carefully done, probably by someone else. She didn't look at me. I didn't look at her. Her lawyer, a guy named Roland Meeks, kept glancing at me like I was an inconvenience. Like I was in the way of some negotiation I didn't understand. He had that polished, high-rise energy, tailored suit, slick hair, fake empathy. Like he studied Concerned Expressions 101 at some expensive seminar. My lawyer, Ms. Rudd, was late. On purpose. She said the longer they sweat, the better. And judging by the way Candace kept fiddling with her phone, it was working. We didn't speak at all in the hallway. Just waited for our names to be called. When we finally went in, the room felt colder than outside. The judge was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who looked like she'd seen every kind of betrayal the world had to offer. "This is Hartley versus Hartley. Preliminary hearing," she said, flipping through paperwork. "We're here to review the financial disclosures, temporary support, and the contested college fund transfer, correct?" Both lawyers confirmed. I just sat there, hands sweating, staring at the table in front of me. Meek started first. He painted Candace like some misunderstood woman under pressure. "Overwhelmed," he said. "Misguided but not malicious." Said she had acted out of emotional distress, that she was regretful and willing to make amends. Judge didn't look impressed. Then Ms. Rudd slid a thick folder forward. "Your Honor, we have documentation showing that Mrs. Hartley transferred over $58,000 from their daughter's college fund without consent or proper authorization. We have voice recordings of Mrs. Hartley discussing the transfer and her motivations. We also have evidence that the funds were used to purchase a vehicle registered under a man who is not part of the Hartley household." Candace shifted in her seat. Meeks blinked twice, but kept his mouth shut. "And we believe," Ms. Rudd continued, "this qualifies as misappropriation of educational funds and possibly financial fraud under New York state law." That got the judge's attention. "Recordings?" she asked. Ms. Rudd nodded. "Multiple. Made by the minor in the household. We have transcripts and audio files ready for review." The judge raised an eyebrow at Candace. Mrs. Hartley, do you dispute these claims? Candace leaned forward. Her voice was soft. I, I was under a lot of stress. I made a terrible mistake, but I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was emotionally compromised. Emotion doesn't excuse theft, the judge replied coolly, especially when it involves a minor's educational future. I should have felt victorious, but I didn't. All I saw was Myra's face. All I heard was her voice the night she played that recording for me. She thinks I'm stupid. The judge issued a temporary financial hold on all joint accounts, ordered that the car Candace purchased be surrendered within 5 days for asset review, told her she was barred from accessing any remaining educational funds, and that a guardian ad litem would be assigned to represent Myra's interests in the divorce. Then she looked straight at Candace and said, "You may want to retain a criminal attorney. This is not a typical divorce case anymore." Candace's face went pale. Meeks scribbled something on a legal pad and shoved it toward her. She barely looked at it. The hearing ended. Everyone shuffled out. No shouting, no drama. Just the hollow quiet of consequences catching up. Outside, I stood on the courthouse steps for a while, hands in my coat pockets, watching the wind whip across the parking lot. The Audi wasn't there. She must have Ubered. Rudd stood beside me. "She's going to get desperate now," she said, matter of fact. "People like her always do. What should I do?" "Stay calm. Stay smart. Don't react." I nodded. That night, Mira and I ate Chinese food on the living room floor. All the furniture felt wrong. Her old beanbag was still in the corner, and she flopped into it with her General Tso's. "How'd it go?" she asked mid-bite. I gave her the short version. "She might lose the car. They're putting a freeze on everything, and they're assigning someone to represent you." "Like a lawyer for me?" "Kind of. Their job is to make sure whatever happens next doesn't screw you over." She thought about that, chewing slowly. "Good," she said. "Because I don't trust her anymore." I nodded. "She's gonna hate me," Mira added softly, like she was trying to pretend it didn't matter. I didn't have a way to sugarcoat that. "She might," I said. "For a while. But she did that to herself." "You just told the truth." Later that week, Candace texted again. This time, it wasn't a wall of emotion. Just 3 words. "Please stop, Mira." I didn't respond. I showed it to Mira, though. She stared at it, then put the phone down. "She only cares about what people are saying now," she said. "She's scared." She should be. There was steel in her voice I hadn't heard before. Not bitterness. Not cruelty. Just clarity. My daughter saw her mother for who she really was. And once you see someone's truth like that, it never goes back in the box. We're still in the thick of it. More hearings coming. Mediation. And Candace is trying to spin things her way now, calling mutual friends, feeding them her side. I've gotten a few weird texts, people fishing, pretending to check in. I don't respond to them either, because I've got Mira, and she's what matters. We'll get through this. But if you think we've hit the climax already, you haven't heard about the day Candace tried to flip everything. I didn't expect her to try and flip the narrative. Not that way. It started with a letter. A certified one, hand-delivered by a process server, addressed to me and the Honorable Family Court of Monroe County. Mira was in the room when I opened it, sitting cross-legged on the couch with her laptop on her knees. The letter was from Candace's new lawyer. Meeks had dropped her after the court hearing. Too messy. She'd replaced him with someone cheaper, less polished, more aggressive. The kind of lawyer who advertises on bus benches and promises fast results. Inside the envelope was a formal motion. Candace was suing for full custody of Mira. I stared at the paper for a solid 30 seconds before I even understood what it said. "She's what?" Mira asked. I showed her. She read it, eyes scanning fast, then again slower. Her face didn't crumple like I expected. No tears. No fear. Just disbelief. "She's doing this to make herself look like the victim," she said, setting the paper down. "She's going to tell everyone you poisoned me against her or something." "She might," I said. "But it won't work." "You sure?" "I'm sure." And I was. Because this time, Candace had finally miscalculated something that really mattered. In court 2 weeks later, she showed up with her new lawyer and a 5-page statement about how she was concerned for Myra's mental health and believed Neil has created a toxic environment of manipulation and distrust. She painted herself as a misunderstood mother who made mistakes under pressure and was now being alienated by an ex who refused to let her repair the relationship. I almost laughed. The judge didn't. Instead, she turned to Myra's guardian ad litem, a woman named Joyce Farrell who had interviewed all of us over the last week. Miss Farrell stood up and said this. "After several interviews with Mira Hartley, I can confirm she is emotionally stable, highly intelligent, and fully aware of the dynamics within her family. She does not wish to live with her mother. She has clearly expressed a desire to remain in her father's custody, and I find no evidence of coercion or manipulation. Additionally, she has documented significant emotional neglect by her mother, as well as financial decisions that negatively impacted her education." She turned and looked directly at Candace. "In my professional opinion, Mrs. Hartley has created the very distance she now accuses Mr. Hartley of causing." Candace's face drained of color. She looked over at me, and for the first time in this whole mess, she looked scared in a way I hadn't seen before. Not the scared of getting caught kind. The scared of losing kind. The judge made it official. Full legal and physical custody to me. Candace would get scheduled visitation, but only if Mira agreed. I told the court we weren't going to block it. I wasn't out for revenge. If Mira ever wanted to talk to her mom again, it'd be her choice. But after we left the courtroom, Mira leaned over and said, "I don't think I'll want to. Not for a long time." And I nodded. That was just the beginning of the fall. In the weeks that followed, the full scope of what Candace had done started unraveling. Turns out, the car wasn't the only thing. She'd used joint funds to pay off one of Conrad's debts, a $9,000 loan he was being sued over. We found emails, payment records, and a few more recorded phone calls Mira had dug out of old cloud backups. My lawyer handed everything to the court, and then to Conrad's wife. I didn't even know her name at first. Jenna DeYers. She emailed me. Short and to the point. "Thank you. I had no idea how deep it went. He's being sued by the firm, and I'm filing for divorce. I hope you and your daughter are okay. We'll be all right." Candace was now being sued not only by the firm she worked for, but also by Conrad's wife for intentional interference in marital assets. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently, if you help someone hide money during a divorce, you're on the hook too. And as a final cherry on top, the car was repossessed and auctioned off. The proceeds? Court ordered to go directly into a newly re-established college account for Mira, under my name only. Mira got the email from the financial advisor while we were eating dinner one night. She opened it, read it, and then looked up at me with a small smile. "It's back," she said. "Not all of it, but enough." I looked at the numbers. $42,300. After auction fees, legal costs, and repayment demands. It wasn't everything we lost, but it was more than we expected to get back. Mira stared at the screen a moment longer. Then she looked at me and said, "She really thought I was stupid." I smiled and finally let myself say it. Well, she thought wrong. We moved houses 3 months later. Too many memories in that old place. Mira wanted a smaller place closer to school. I found a fixer-upper with a sunroom and a little backyard she could decorate however she wanted. We painted her room together. She picked green, said it reminded her of fresh starts. One afternoon, while painting, she looked at me and said, "I thought I'd always be afraid of becoming like her." I put the brush down. "You're not her," I said. "You never were." She nodded. "I know that now." Candace still texts sometimes. Mostly silence now, but every few weeks. I miss her. Please tell her I love her. I don't pass the messages along anymore. Because that's Myra's choice. And she's chosen her peace. Candace lives in a small apartment now. She works part-time at a temp agency. The scene out torched her reputation in town. Most of her friends faded away once the truth came out. She wanted status, applause, admiration, and she ended up alone. No vengeance. No screaming matches. Just the truth, laid bare, and consequences that didn't need my help to catch up with her. Mira starts college next fall. She got a partial scholarship and filled the rest with grants and what we recovered. She wants to study psychology. "I want to understand why people do what they do," she told me. "Start with your mother." I joked. She laughed, the real kind. And it felt like a new chapter beginning right then and there. I didn't win by fighting dirty. I won by standing still while the truth stood taller. And Mira? She's the real hero. She saw the storm coming, recorded it, and gave me the strength to do something I might never have done alone. If you're out there, reading this, feeling stuck, feeling betrayed, feeling like you're the crazy one, you're not. Pay attention to the quiet ones. They see everything. And sometimes, they save your life when you least expect it.